Hi and welcome back to the Witching Hour Audio YouTube channel. My name's Sean and thanks for joining me again today. I wanted to make a shorter video that focuses on the different upgrades we can make to our signal path while recording guitar DIs for a project. Your guitar DI does make a very big difference to the final product of your guitar sound, and you really want these to be as high quality as possible before you send it to an amp sim or reamp into a real amp. So in this video today, we're going to have a look at the differences and compare the differences between new strings versus older strings. We're going to have a look at cable length, so a 12-foot Klotz cable versus a 6-foot Mogami Platinum. We're also going to have a look at the difference between picks, so a couple of different Dunlop picks. And we're going to have a look at the difference between a Focusrite Clarett, which is a high quality interface, but we're going to compare that to an RME Babyface with a DI, dedicated DI box, Countryman Type 85 in the signal chain as well. And then we're also going to have a look at the importance of technique and the difference that makes in tone as well. So yeah, we're going to hop on to the door. I've pre-recorded all of this and you'll be able to compare and listen for yourself. Something to note is that if you're listening on your phone at the back of the bus, you're probably not going to hear the differences between these elements too clearly. You really will need a higher quality listening environment, so some good headphones or some studio monitors will highlight the differences, the incremental differences between all of these elements. Okay, so we're going to do a little session breakdown to begin with. The way I've organized this is I've tried to play the same riff over and over again as consistently as possible, with the exception of this very first example here, because that was deliberately played terrible just to demonstrate how much of an effect the playing has on the overall sound of your guitar. But what we've done otherwise is each one of these is labeled with the signal chain here. So this is our old strings through our Jazz 3 Dunlops, through a 12-foot Klotz cable into the Focusrite Clarett Plus interface. And each time we go down to another track, something changes about the interface. So here we've gone from old strings to new. Here we've gone from Jazz 3 picks to Dunlop green Tortex picks. And then here we've gone from a 12-foot Klotz cable into a 6-foot Mogami cable. And then at this stage we swap from the Clarett into the RME Babyface and the Countryman DI. I really should have split these into separate stages because that difference is quite drastic, but it's too late for that now. So what we might do first of all is just listen to how we sound with our old strings, Jazz 3 pickups, 12-foot Klotz cable, and straight into the Focusrite. All right, the next thing we're going to do is swap from that signal chain, but we're going to put new strings into the equation. Now the biggest thing I pick up there is, especially on the chords, they do come forward a little bit more. They're a lot less dull sounding, although it is a bit harder to notice through the signal chain. I notice it a lot more as everything improves. The difference between old and new strings becomes a bit more drastic. So we'll listen to that again. Okay, so hopefully you can hear that there. We're going to now swap between our Jazz 3 picks to our green Tortex. To me, this makes a difference to the attack especially, so have a listen to the character of that change as we go. Now that's another subtle difference, but to me what I notice most of all is the sound of the attack. The tone of the strings and the sustained notes are not too different there, but if you hear the clack of the pick against the strings, I find something a lot more aggressive about the Tortex. So have a listen and see if you can notice that this time around. And to me, that really helps it cut through, especially once we run it through an amp sim as well. What we're going to go through and change now is we're going to go still with our new strings, our green Tortex, but we're going to change from a 12-foot Klotz cable down to a 6-foot Mogami. I'll ignore this track, so we go straight to here where the strings are still new. Alright, in that case, it's a subtle difference as well, but there is a little bit more high-end brightness. There is a little bit more clarity to the attack. The lower mids don't sound too different to me, nor does the low end. But to me, there is a difference to the upper mids, especially in terms of the attack and the chords themselves. I'll play it one more time. And now what we're going to do is swap from our Focusrite direct in to our RME Babyface with the dedicated DI in line as well. So we'll keep our new strings, cable, and pick the same. And what we're going to do is swap between interface setups and see if you can hear the difference here. Now, to my ears, that's the most drastic change so far. The RME setup has a lot more aggression and presence to the upper mids, whereas by comparison, the Clarett without the DI is a lot more rounder in the low end, and it doesn't have that same mid-forward push and clarity, which makes quite a big difference to the tone. This is a significant shift, so we'll listen to that again. Yeah, there's quite a significant, I guess, a clack sound coming through with that bottom setup, and the bottom end is a lot tighter, whereas the setup here is a lot rounder and I guess more muffled on the low end. What we might do now is have a listen between this ideal setup here and change to the old strings, because that was a focus of our comparison here too. So you'll hear it go from new strings to old and see if you can hear a difference. Now that is still a subtle change, but to me there is a undeniable brightness that comes with the new strings. They have a lot more like a shinier presence to the top end. It's especially noticeable in the chords when they're played, and you sort of hear it in the attack of the guitar pick against the strings as well. So it's definitely worth changing your strings whenever you're recording. I like to do one set of strings per new song, changing possibly every 4 to 5 hours wherever possible. Some people just let it go, but you really do notice it, and because you're going to be listening to these guitars for, many years to come, it's really worth the pain in the ass hassle of changing your strings, especially while you're recording. And I would do it at least once a day, but possibly more depending on how intensive your sessions are. Now, something we haven't touched on at all is this part with our terrible playing. So what we're going to do here is swap between our original old strings, Jazz 3s, 12-foot Klotz, and Clarett Plus, and we're going to swap between a strong performance to a very weak performance, and just have a listen to how significant this change is. Now, to me, more than any other change in this whole setup, that is the biggest shift of all. It almost seems like we get a big bass boost, but what's actually happened is because that was played so weakly, the signal had to be boosted artificially to get it up to a comparable level. Now, what happens is the bass comes up, but we have no punch, no aggression. The chords sound muffled. The mutes aren't tight. There's a woolly sort of low end to it, and it's You can imagine when that goes through an amplifier and then it's put through multiple takes, we have left and right playing all at once competing with bass drums. That's going to be a disaster. So have a listen a little bit more quickly compared. What we'll do also for the fun of it is we'll go from old strings, Jazz 3, a 12-foot cable and Clarett Plus into our most optimal setup, being the new strings, green Tortex, 6-foot Mogami and our DI, and have a listen to the difference as they sound stacked up. Now these takes aren't perfect, but even as they are, you can hear such a difference between our suboptimal and our most pristine takes there. The openness of the mid-range, the brightness of the top end, the tightness of the low end, all of that really comes together to make quite a world of difference. So hopefully from this demonstration you can see just how those little changes stack and how it's worth paying attention to each part. We are going to, just for the fun of it, go from our terrible playing into our best case version and just listen to the difference there. And to finish up, we are going to run these differences through an amp sim. It's going to engage our STL Tones Josh Middleton tonality, and rather than going through everything bit by bit, we will go from our lowest quality version played well into our highest, and then we'll swap back quickly, and then we'll go from our terrible take into our absolute best case scenario, and have a listen to just how much the DI quality affects the tone when distorted. And you can imagine once you're running different takes left and right or quad tracking, just how much this changes and how important it is to get it right as far as the DI goes. Now, that's obviously not the perfect tone, but you can hear the effect that it has, the difference between running a high quality DI with a strong performance to vice versa. So thanks for joining me for this comparison. I hope it was somewhat informative and useful in some way. It's highlighted to me just the difference that strong playing makes over weak playing. There's no amount of gear upgrades that will turn a bad performance into a strong one. You really just need to put the time in and make sure you know your parts well enough to play them confidently, because that's going to make the biggest difference of all. We also didn't touch on tuning at all. Wasn't really the focus of this video, but an out of tune guitar run through an amazing signal is still just going to sound awful. That's one of my pet hates, is guitars that are out of tune. You hear the wobble in the chords. They don't come together to give the power that you intend, and they fight with the other instruments in your track too. So yeah, make sure your guitars are in tune and that your guitar is really set up and well intonated as well. Yeah, if you want to know more about me or my work, please visit witchinghouraudio.com. If you found these videos interesting in some way, please consider subscribing as well. And if there's any topics that you'd like me to cover down the track, yeah, please just leave a suggestion. But otherwise, thanks for being here today, and hopefully catch you on the next video. Cheers.